story in the Politico, Jason Chaffetz said that he believes Mitt Romney is going to run again.
He's a congressman from Utah, if you don't know Jason. He says, he says, I think he's going to run for president. He probably doesn't want me to say that. 100 times he's
not.
100 times
Probably
he's
not.
Yeah. Well,
Mitt Romney might say, gosh darn it.
Dag nabbit, Jason. I've said time and time again I'm
so angry. It's like I'm a tea kettle that's starting to whistle a bit.
Oh my heck.
He might fly off the handle like that.
He might.
Calm down, Mitt.
Yeah, I know.
He says 100 times he says he's not, but Mitt Romney has always accomplished what he set out to do. I think he's been proven right on a lot of stuff, which many things he has been.
And many things he's deadly wrong on.
I happen to be in the camp that he's actually going to run, and I think he will be the next president of the United States.
Here's why I think he's right. Mitt has strangely not ridden off in the sunset. He has strangely been, and he said he wants to be one of the founders of the.
His people said that he want to be the elder statesman.
The elder statesman for the Republican Party. And who do they have? I think the press even knows Jeb Bush is a non-starter. He's just a non-starter.
You've got Chris Christie.
Chris Christie is a non-starter.
You got Bridgegate. You got, fatness.
Yeah. It's not going to happen. So who else?
But those guys are both performing well in the poll. I mean, right now, Jeb Bush is second, tied with Chris Christie, who's also second in the Republican field.
You got Rand Paul, who's probably, for sure ahead of Mitt Romney.
But he is not necessarily who the press is looking for.
No.
The press and the establishment wants somebody like Mitt Romney or Jeb Bush. And so they will run those guys again. And I really think that Mitt Romney would run again. And here's what I also...
He's been emphatic that he won't.
Yeah, right.
Why would you be so emphatic if it's anywhere in your head that you might run? Why would
because
you be
I do
so
believe that Mitt Romney is
to?
a guy who is... I don't think he's driven. I really don't ascribe bad things to Mitt Romney, far as he's an evil, conniving guy. I really don't think that. I think he is a really honest, genuine, decent man who I disagree with. But I disagree with a lot of politicians on a lot of things. But if your character is good, and I disagree with everybody in the room, I'm going to go with a guy with character. Mitt Romney, I believe, has good character. Beyond that, I think he's wrong on a lot of things. But I really think that, for instance, Hillary Clinton is going to pay the price of this administration, not by the American people, but by the press. I think the press is going to take out their anger of feeling betrayed by this administration, never on this president, because they're too deeply in bed. And I just don't think that they will ever take out their aggression, but they know some of these things are wrong. What's happening with the White House and the press corps and the way they're treating us. I don't think they have alarm bells going off, but they are uncomfortable with it and they don't like it. And they don't like the way they're being treated sometimes. And I think they're going to take that out on Hillary Clinton. Because if you look at what the left is saying, they're all saying things about Hillary Clinton that are not exactly flattering. I mean, are you getting a good impression that she's a goddess? Because I'm not.
No, and her favorability keeps falling as a result.
Right. And they're not helping her favorability. And so I think they're actually taking her out. And so when you're left, Chris Christie is just not going to run.
Well,
he's going to run, but I don't think he's going to win. I just don't think he's going to win. And I don't think they want him. They're not going to want Mitt Romney either, but who are they left with?
Yeah, I mean, here's the grouping right now. Rand Paul, 11. Jeb Bush, 10. Mike Huckabee, 10. Chris Christie, 10. Paul Ryan, 8. And Ted Cruz is there at 8.
Ted Cruz is up to 8 now.
Yeah, Marco Rubio at 6. Scott Walker, actually 8.
I think Scott Walker has a chance. I think Scott Walker has a real chance.
He's got a good record, and he's certainly
really great record.
Yeah. Well, he's wrong on a few things.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody is.
Everybody's. Perry at 3, Santorum 2, Jindal 1.
Perry has, Santorum. I love Rick. I really do. He is such a good guy, but time has passed, I think.
It's funny because the guy did finish second.
I know. I know.
It's not like he ran it.
And you know what? He's doing really good stuff. He's down here in Texas doing films and trying to get the word out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's a really nice guy. Let's go to Rick Perry for a second. Give me the stat on, I just said a little while ago, and we went off the air, and Stu, he's always checking my facts on everything, and he said, hey, Glenn, that thing about, Houston and the boat people coming over, and they're good, strong. I just started looking that up, and then I started looking at stats on Houston. Listen to this stat, and if this doesn't tell you that Texas is doing something right, nothing will. Listen to this.
Since 2011, more single-family housing permits were issued in Houston than the entire state of California.
So we have permits out to build, since 2011, permits to build single-family homes more in the one city of Houston than the entire state of California.
So Houston, is that just Houston City or is that the metropolitan area? Do you know?
I don't have the details on that.
That's a difference between 2 million as opposed to 6 million. But either way you're comparing a city to a state with 44 million people in it. That is astounding.
It's a staggering stat.
Wow.
A staggering stat.
Wow.
So, I think this is why Rick Perry is saying, why am I not the logical choice here?
On paper, I mean, I could say, living in this state and living in many other states in my life, by far, it's the best run state I've ever lived in.
Well, can I tell you something? Part of that, though, is the system that the founders set up for the federal government.
Oh, yeah.
They only meet every other year.
Right.
People in Austin, they're not there full time. So they're not looking for things to do. They've got a very limited period of time. You got this business to take care of that business, get the hell out.
And I don't think Rick Perry would come on and try to make the case that he's responsible for all of Texas' success by any means. But when you look at it on paper, the guy has overseen the most successful thing America has done for how many years?
And he's been our governor since, 1863?
1863.
1863, I think.
Yeah, no, he's
done a good job.
What he's doing now what he's doing now on the border. I mean, with him refusing to go and greet the president, and not refusing, saying, look, Mr. President, a handshake on the tarmac of the airport when you come to the state is not enough, sir. I need time with you. I need to talk about what's happening on our border. It's crippling our state. I need a conversation with you. If you want to meet, I'll shake your hand and let's go meet any place, anytime, any city. But the president's not doing that. The president is actually coming to Texas for fundraisers. He's not even doing what George Bush did with Katrina. He's not even flying over the problem and looking out the window.
Yeah, and Bush was criticized for all he's doing is flying over.
All this guy is doing is flying in for fundraisers. Yeah. This is insane. And if Rick Perry is smart, continues to play his cards right, and actually can do something, find some ways legally to get control of our borders, Rick Perry will have a really good shot at coming out of that 3% area. I think Rick and Ted Cruz have the one problem going against them is they kind of sound like George Bush because they're from Texas, and they kind of sound like George Bush, and everybody's like, oh, Jesus, George Bush. Well, let me tell you something. And you're like, oh, no.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Ted Cruz, as Pat has pointed out, does not sound like George Bush.
Yes,
he sounds like Dana Carvey doing George H.W. Bush.
Yes. Big difference.
It's a big difference.
Big difference.
No one has any negative thing about Dana Carvey doing George H.W. Bush.
It's good. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Here's our sponsor this half hour. It is LifeLock. What is it about people from Texas that they kind of, at least as politicians, they all sound like George Bush. They all sound like the Bushes. It's weird.
It's not just accent. It's pacing. It's something about
it's the halting nature of, and
we did something really. What we did was something that was
it's that
good.
It's that. Now, Ted Cruz does not have that.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz does not have that. Ted has the tonality of that,
the soft-spoken nature,
along with the accent that kind of gives it that feel.
Yeah.
But Rick Perry has that
halting thing.
I was sleeping. And here's our sponsor this half hour. It's LifeLock. Do you remember when George Bush would do that in the press conferences, and you'd think, oh, something big's coming. At the beginning, you'd be like, something big's coming.
Like good.
Yeah. And he was just good.